Okay, David said that he has new buyer applications and there's not a lot of inventory. Cool, opportunity. Start calling neighborhoods and let them know that you have buyers that are looking for properties like theirs. So everything is a script. So if I'm calling Alan, it's simply, hey, Alan, John Dietz, Keller Williams Realty. Thank you for taking my call. Always lead with gratitude. Just wanted to make sure that everybody at home is doing well, and also reaching out because we have buyers that are looking for great homes like yours, and there is nothing for sale. And I was just curious, who do you know in your neighborhood who might be thinking of selling? So it's circle prospecting, it's reverse prospecting, because you're prospecting your buyers for listings that are not on the market. So David, there's an opportunity to go find more listings, okay?
Definitely is. Thank you, John. Yeah,
you got it, buddy. All right.
Well.
One more, tell me something good, one more attitude of gratitude, and we're going to get started. And I'm just going to get started then. All right. So 90% of success is mindset. Do you agree with that? Yes. And if 90% of success is mindset, what's the other 10%?
Action.
Action. Cool. What else? Mindset and skill set. So success is 90% mindset, 10% skill set. Now, if success is not, and Alan, you're not wrong. It is action. I'm just calling it something different. And if 90% of success is mindset, does that mean that all I have to do is change the way I think and I'll hit 90% of my goal? Phil is shaking his head no. And Phil, I'm going to agree with you. It doesn't mean that. Because if I don't develop skill, if I don't work on that 10%, mindset alone is not going to achieve my goals. I could go out for the Miami Dolphins next week and have the best mindset on the field, and I'm not going to make the team because I don't have the skill. You guys understand that? Having the right mindset and only focusing on your mindset is kind of like baking a cake with 90% of the ingredients and expecting it to taste the same. It's not going to happen. So that said, what are the skills that we should focus on? Now, I want you to take notes because I'm going to give you a list. And we're going to talk about that. But before we do that, I want to share my screen with you and I want to have a conversation. Say a prayer, this works. Yeah, it's working. All right, so on a sheet of paper, I want you to create 4 boxes just the way I just did. And in the top left, I want you to write present positive. Top right, I want you to write future positive. Bottom left is present negative. And this is a coaching model that we use. You could also use this with for sale by owners and expireds in order to take them through a consultative approach to help them self-discover in order to get their home sold and move to Tampa, which is future positive. They have to start removing items that are in their present negative box. Otherwise, they're going to end up in future negative, which is they're still in their home 6 months from now and the value's gone down. All right, future negative is in the bottom right box. And I know I kind of glossed over that, guys, and that's something that I use a lot with working for Sell by Owners and Expireds. I use this model with them, and I'll go deeper into that another time. For now, I'm going to focus on mindset and skill set. All right, what does your future positive look like? In other words, where do you want to be a year from now? How much money do you want to be making? What does your life look like? What does your life look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? And think big. What are you capable of? What's your ceiling? Are you currently hitting a ceiling? If so, what do you need to do in order to break through that ceiling? So here's what we tell ourselves in present positive. I'm comfortable. Homes are selling. I just had the best month I ever had. Why would I focus on doing anything different? Technology really can't be that important because I'm selling lots and lots of houses, and all my sales are coming from repeat and referral business. And I don't have the world's greatest technology, yet I'm still selling lots of homes. Life is good. Present positive. Right? Now, here's a challenge. Are things changing? Say yes.
Yes.
You see, Blockbuster probably had a conversation with themselves very similar to this 20 years ago or 15 years ago, whenever Netflix came on the scene. And they said, we're comfortable. We're number one in our industry. Our stock value is through the ceiling. Life is good. And what happened is they ignored present negative. And when we ignore present negative, we're going to end up right here. Oops, and I made a mistake. You guys should have caught me on that. This is future
negative.
Thank you. Okay. So, what's standing between you and the future positive that you want to achieve? Let's go back to the skill set mindset conversation. In other words, what needs to change in your business in order for you to move from present positive to future positive? All of the things in this box are your obstacles. In other words, if you ignore the fact that you are succeeding in spite of not mastering prospecting because you have lots of business that's just coming to you, life is good and you're comfortable, and you ignore the fact that you're not mastering your scripts, you're not mastering prospecting, you're not learning new ways to generate business and real estate. If you ignore all of those obstacles, then you potentially are going to end up here. So what are your obstacles? Technology-wise, what are your obstacles? Systems, models, and tools. What's missing that you need in order to end up in future positive? Now, the other coaching conversation that I would have with you is E to P. And E is entrepreneurial, or what you do naturally, and P is purposeful. This could also mean just what comes to you naturally. And you're succeeding at a level that is making you comfortable. So you could potentially be hitting a ceiling of achievement, and you might be okay with that because you've got natural ability that is creating a certain level of success for you that you're okay with. However, if your goal is to be there, you're going to have to find a way to break through this ceiling. And the only way you're going to do that is by becoming purposeful. Another way of looking at that is you can't get to better until you get to different. To think that you can go from here to here doing what you did yesterday is a flawed strategy. It's not going to work. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, is the definition of insanity. So, that said, what are the skills that I should be focusing on? So I'm going to give you a list. I'm going to go through this kind of quick, and I'll send you a recording of this if you don't write everything down. The first skill that I want you to focus on is mastering your scripts. And when I say mastering your scripts, I mean mastering scripts, dialogues, and real estate conversations. And mastering real estate conversations is moving from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence. Now, unconscious incompetence means I don't know what I don't know, and I don't know what I don't know. In other words, this is dangerous. This is where people kind of feel like I'm selling lots of houses, therefore I must know everything there is to know. And you're heading for trouble. You've got to move from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence. In other words, I know what I know what I don't know, and I know that I need to learn how to do what I don't know. In other words, I need training. I need coaching. I can't continue to do things the way I've done them because it's not going to work in the future. Just because something works today doesn't mean it's going to work 6 months from now. And I'm going to move from conscious incompetence to conscious competence. And that's where I begin to start learning my scripts, my dialogues, and be it in real estate conversations to a point where I'm getting results. Ultimately, I want to get to unconscious incompetence. And that's where you own the scripts and conversations, where they are just part of you. You don't have to think. They just naturally come out. You own them. The second skill that you need to focus on is lead generation, and lead generation is a skill. It's an activity and it's a skill. Kind of look at it like this, guys. I'm competitive, and when I was younger, my sport was football. I played football and I coached football, and because I'm competitive, I wanted to be absolutely the best player on the field. My sport today is real estate, and I'm competitive. Now, my playbook is everything that I'm sharing with you right now. And part of my playbook is lead generation. Now, if I want to win the Super Bowl, then I've got to be able to lead generate at the Super Bowl level, which means I can get on the phone and I can work my relationships. I can work with people I know in order to create repeat and referral business. And it's just natural. Plus, I have systems, models, and tools and technology in order to do that. I can call for sell by owners and expireds and convert those calls to appointments. I can circle prospect and convert those calls to appointments and future business. I've mastered the activity of lead generation. The other skill set that I want you to focus on is getting appointments. So there's a difference between having a conversation with someone and converting the conversation to an appointment. The other skill set I want you to focus on is follow-up. Follow-up is a skill, and I want you to master that. Now, the next skill is delivering great buyer and seller listing presentations. I want you to change the way you're looking at things, and then don't call it a listing presentation. It's a buyer or seller listing consultation. There's a difference. If it's a listing presentation, you're selling and telling. If it's a listing consultation, you're asking questions. You're asking questions that are designed to help your customer self-discover the right answers in order to get their goals accomplished. The next skill set that I want you to focus on is overcoming objections. It's a skill. The best way to learn how to overcome objections is to write every objection down that you ever heard. Carry a notebook with you and just write down the objections that you're hearing. And then write down 3 responses for each objection. Then I want you to PDR, or practice, drill, rehearse, those 3 responses. So that when Alan is saying, John, your commission is too high, my immediate thought is, I've got 3 responses. Which response am I going to use? And by the way, the objection is usually longer than that. Usually he's going to give me a long-winded response for your commission is too high. And what typically happens is if you don't know the response, if I'm talking to Kim, and I'm just picking people who are in my visual here, guys. If I'm talking to Kim and Kim is sharing with me that she feels my commission is too high, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I say? What do I say? What do I say? I'm not truly listening to Kim, and she can tell. But if I know what my response is, then I'm truly listening. I'm actively listening. I'm asking questions. Tell me more. How does that make you feel? Why do you feel that way? I'm using a porcupine response, which is one of my favorite responses to your commission is too high, which is my commission's too high. Now, Kim has to defend her objection versus me defending my commission. All right, so I want you to PDR 3 responses for every objection you're ever going to hear. I want you to master closing, and there's 3 closes that I want you to master. Number 1 is direct, which is, are you ready to get started? Number 2 is an alternative choice, which is, Alan, would you like your listing to go active on the 1st, or would you rather wait until the 15th? And when Alan says, I think the 15th would be better for me, he just said yes. In other words, he just hired me, correct? And the other close that I want you to learn is 1 to 10. So, David, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being you don't like anything I said, can't wait for me to leave, and 10 being I'm the right agent for the job in order to get your goals accomplished. Where are we? All right, so those are the 3 closes that I want you to master. The other thing that you need to master is creating a CMA and having pricing conversations. It's a skill. There's a big difference between pricing a home at $395,000 and $410,000. And depending on the market, it could be the difference between sold and expired. The next skill that I want you to master is interpreting activity and feedback. So if I've got Bill's property listed and we've got 10 showings on his home and no offers, is that good? No. And if the feedback I'm hearing is, yeah, my buyer loves the house, and I simply respond with, wow, that's great, let me know if they're interested, then I haven't created an opportunity to get an offer that I could if I mastered this skill. In other words, if Bill said my buyers loves the house, we'll let you know if they're interested, my response to that would be, that's awesome, Bill. I'm so glad that they love the house. Are they going to be making an offer? No, they're still looking. Okay, where would we need to be today in order for your buyer to make an offer today? What would it take? What would it take for your buyer to make an offer today? And I might hear, well, if the price was a little lower, they would make an offer. Cool. Where would we need to be? We're at $400,000. What would the price need to be in order for the buyer to make an offer today? Now, the other part of this is I'm listening to feedback and I'm having conversations with my seller and I'm giving my seller advice on adjustments they need to make based on the feedback. So you need to master that. That's a skill. Delivering offers and negotiating contracts is also a skill. You need to master that as well. All right, I'm going to pause and give you guys a chance to talk. Tell me what you're hearing. What are your ahas? What are your questions? Remember how this started. It started with success is 90% how we think, 10% skill. And we just spent 20 minutes talking about skill. It's important. What are you hearing? Let me ask a different question. Where are your gaps? What's standing between you and your goals?
So for me, the closing that you just did with buyers, like I've got the part of calling up, and I do follow up on all of my showings.
Mm-hmm.
But knowing that conversation that you just gave about where would we have to be, and then bringing that back to my seller and keeping that going, because I think I've been almost flip about how many showings, like there's so many closing opportunities that I've missed because I didn't know that conversation. So
Cool.
that's my gold nugget for the day.
Good. And Nadine, you could use it with buyers as well.
Yeah.
You just flip it around with a buyer.
Yeah. Where do we need to be, or what would make you make an offer right now?
There you go. That's the question.
Yep.
In other words, you're showing me the house, and you can clearly tell I love it. It's got everything that I want, and I want to keep looking.
Right.
And you could simply ask me, John, just out of curiosity, what would need to happen for you to make an offer today? It's a hypothetical question. Just curious. What would need to happen? You can't hypothetically buy a house.
Right.
So I'm not going to make you buy the house. I'm just curious. Where would we need to be in order for you to make an offer today? Well, I guess if the seller was willing to pay my closing costs, I might make an offer. Cool.
Cool.
We
can
write
do
that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If the roof was a little newer, I would make an offer today. Great. So why don't we put into the contract that the seller will replace the roof?
Yep. Yeah, I think you just doubled my income with that script.
Good. I'll send you a bill tomorrow. It was a joke. And master asking harm's way questions. Holy cow, I'm glad I remembered that, because it might be the most important thing I'm going to tell you today. Mastering harm's way questions will move people closer to their goal, because we're more motivated by avoiding pain than we are by going towards pleasure. I'm going to use pain to help you make the right decision versus pleasure to make the right decision. How much you love this house, how much you love this house, how much you love this house. Wouldn't this house be great? Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas dinner, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, whatever. You're not going to make a house. If I can paint a picture where this house that you absolutely love is going to be gone on Monday when you sleep on it over the weekend. Now that's pain.
Yeah, it's kind of like window shopping or going shopping and looking at the outfit that you really want or the jacket you really want and waiting for it to go on sale and going back and it's gone. It's a perfect analogy.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And I would also use in that conversation, Nadine, when a buyer is hung up on price, and this is a negotiating conversation, and we're $5,000 apart, the buyer is going to walk over $5,000. I would simply ask, how long are you planning on living in the home? 10 years. 8 years from now, how important do you think that $5,000 is going to be to you?
Yeah.
How important is being in the right house to you? Which one is more important?
John, can you repeat back that for me, please?
So when a buyer is hung up on the price and they're going to walk and they're $5,000 away from purchasing the house, I would simply ask, how long are you planning on living in your home? And when they say 10 years, cool. 8 years from now, how important is that $5,000 going to be to you? 8 years from now, what's more important, being in the right house with your family for the past 8 years or saving that $5,000? Now, that said, if we passed on this house to save $5,000 and this ends up being the right house for you, could you possibly regret that? Now, when they say yes, then the next question is, so what should we do? Now, their response should be, come up $5,000 and buy the house? And your response is, I agree. Let's buy the house.
Yeah, John, I just worked out the cost of a Starbucks at $4.50 by $5,000, and it's basically it's a latte every day for 3 years. They could give up their latte and have the house.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And guys, I can have so much fun with this. I really, really can. So Nadine, what's more important, Johnny playing in the backyard every day for the next 8 years, or you buying a latte every day for the next 8 years? I mean, what's more important, your latte or your son? Okay. What else, guys?
I'll go again because
Yes.
I mean, I got on here late because I was having some technical difficulty, but I got on it just the right moment when you had the drawing of E to P and just talking about, because I mean, I've been hitting the same ceiling for a long time, and clearly my thing is I appreciate the scripts and dialogues. I mean, I feel pretty confident with that, but my closing scripts are not as good as they should be. That's number one. And number two is, just systematizing my follow-up. So those are two issues that I know that I battle with. And that's what's going to make all the difference in the world. So
Love it.
those are my big two takeaways.
Love that. Thank you for sharing that. And what you missed, we started with success is 90% how we think, 10% skill set. And the 10% skill set is the difference between success and failure. Yes, mindset is important, but don't ignore the skill set. It's critically important. All right, guys, look for an email. We are changing the format for this call starting next week. We're going to have one call versus 2 calls, and that call is going to go right into group lead generation, which means if you want to stay on the call and be part of a Zoom group group prospecting, you're going to have the opportunity to do that. Also, our call is on for tomorrow. I'm leaving today for the weekend to go spend time with my son and daughter-in-law. However, I will be here tomorrow morning at 9:30 on Zoom anyways. So I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Monday is a holiday, so don't log in on Monday. There'll be nobody there. All right, make it a great day. See everybody tomorrow.
Bye.
Thank you, John.